Hello there and welcome to another GMT driving school video. This one was meant to be just a quick one really. I had a lesson one with a student and they'd driven before. This is their first official lesson with an ADI and they have driven, so over the course of this lesson you'll see some quite distinct improvements, mainly on aggressive driving, quite fast driving. So you'll notice there the pull away was quite quick. And when we get around the corner, clearance starts to deteriorate a little bit. So for about the first 10 to 15 minutes, we're going quite quick. Lots of one-handed steering going on and lots of clutch going in, but the gentleman knows that now anyway. So the first mistake is coming up, and that's clearance to the vehicle in front. We get super close to the Peugeot in front. So if anything went wrong with the clutch, or if we got a little nudge from behind, there's no way that we wouldn't be hitting that vehicle in front and losing my no claims bonus. So remember, tyres on tarmac. And this camera is I think it's a 140 degree camera, so it can even look like that's far away, but from my seat it was practically touching. So you really want to see tyres on tarmac. And here's another, or probably one of the first examples of clearance where we're getting awfully close to the vehicles on the left and quite far from the vehicles on the right. So we're hitting that 26, 27 miles per hour past those parked cars, which can be a little bit sketchy. And at this point, that clearance comes back again, so we are within half a car door's width from the cars on the left. And there's plenty of room to the right to straddle the white line. You can see the blue car a good 3-4 foot away from the white line. We could really be over there improving safety from the left. And this is where I started to talk to the client about the idea of clearance and how it's marked on the test, and the 10 mile an hour rule that goes with it. So if you know that one, champion. If you don't, ask your instructor and he'll tell you, she'll tell you about the 10 mile an hour rule with clearance. And I've got this little mistake down as approach speed to junctions. You can see we're carrying plus 20 mile an hour as we steer into that left hand lane. Luckily enough, the client had really good car skills, so he managed to get the brakes on. But would it have been safer to come right down to maybe 15 mile an hour and still be progressive? I think so. I've got this little section highlighted just to show that clearance. So you see the lady trying to get in her car. We've got lots of room to the right in the chevrons there, so when we come around the corner, maybe we could have given a little bit more space there, and that would have again protected the safety of the vulnerable road user or the crazy lady getting in her car. Sorry, crazy lady, if you're watching. Alright, on this little section, I was quite taken aback about how quickly we approached this bus. So at this point, when we see a bus pulled in, we should check the middle right mirror and gently glide over to the white line so we can see past. At this point, we would just really start shooting at the bus and put a stop in quite close. So if that bus was decided to wait there for when we're testing, it was waiting, would have been sat there for ages and people would have been getting around. That would have been a clear fail. So when you do see a bus pulled in at the side of the road, start planning that overtake. In this instance, it was very lucky that the bus was pulling away as it did, because it didn't cause us to sit and wait. So I would have marked that down as progress, making adequate progress. Alright, on this one I think there's just a slight misjudgment of speed. So we've got a cold day, a wet road, and we're starting to hit those 50-mile-an-hour mark on this corner. So I was a little clenched on this one, especially knowing what's around the corner with the give way and the slip road. So if you notice, we're still carrying a hell of a lot of speed there, 30 mile an hour, straight down for the give way. So at this point I did mention about grip and wet roads and cold conditions. You know, everything there an enemy of friction, so we could lose the car and go sideways. We're probably quite far off that, but just worth a note. If you do get to rewind that a bit, we've got a nice slip road entry there. Again, I did mention the observation. There was that van in front coming from behind. We were accelerating hard, and I tend to find that happens a lot with students with the wrong timing. We'll be accelerating hard, looking in the right mirror, but not really measuring the progress of the vehicle behind. So the client had to back off the gas quite suddenly, let that van pass, and get back on the gas to get back up to speed. So remember, sometimes you will have to adjust your speed on your slip road, sometimes quite violently depending on what's to your right. Here's a cracking example of anticipation. So you saw the cyclist there look over his right shoulder. Basically check, there he goes again, checking that the road's clear, which it isn't because we're driving along, and then here he comes. So that would have been a 5-point clicker on your theory test, that one. But for us it was, again, using the clearance, just moving slightly to the right, making sure that we're in full control of that situation. And if you didn't see it, it can take you by surprise. So observational cycle, make sure that you're fanning out and looking at the paths left and right, and you'll pick things like that up in the future. And here's a classic coming up. We're coming to the traffic lights in Blythe to town centre. often people fail here, but have you noticed the shape of the traffic lights are L-shaped? Often people are staring at them reds and then they stop looking, maybe looking around, looking behind. There's the green arrow to the left, and at this point I'm waving at the car behind. I don't know, I didn't notice what he did. Yeah, he just waited patiently. So there you go, people wait patiently, don't they? But yeah, missed the green arrow, and I had to ask the student to carry on because there was a car behind, and that would have caused a fail because it was stopping the progress of others, basically because of a mistake we were making. So remember, keep observing those lights when you're waiting, getting your bite ready, and then things will go well. I thought I would add this one, not because it was a mistake, I just thought it was an example of really good practice on a slip road. So we're starting to get that speed up, and as we're coming down, if you notice in the top left, you can see this van coming in. So the van's got right away on us, and then there was a reduction of speed. You can see just a slight reduction of speed, and then we took in behind. So on the way down there, we're checking the mirrors a lot to make sure it was safe, and then there was a slight adjustment of speed, but progress didn't fall too far down. That's really hard to do for learners, I realise that. There's a lot of fear takes place there, so the mind tends to centre on, will I crash the car and it will be terrible? Of course it would, it'd be a burning fireball. But you don't think that way. You start looking at your job at hand, which is to see if you can merge safely and get your speed up. Lots of right mirror observations, and then adjustment of speed if you need to. And that was kind of twice we've done that on this experience. The first one I helped with because I wasn't really trusting the judgment and observation then, but on this one, much improved and quite a difficult situation that he got out of well. So there we go, that's the end of the lesson for this young man. And hello phone, shut up. And for a first official lesson, it went really well. This is someone who was, again, taught by an ex-partner of his, just trying his best and stalling all the time and just getting good over time. So remember, that's the journey, is to make mistakes and to reflect on them. When you haven't got an ADI with dual controls, I'm sure it's a scary thing. So this person did really well for the first go, and their improvements will be mirror work. The MSPSL hazard drill is going to get better, and I'm going to test those maneuvers and the advanced roundabout practice. So it was a good drive, really impressed, and it shows you what people can do if they get out there and give it a whirl, make a lot of mistakes, look pretty good.